One of the critical things in this program is the term reflection and how we use reflection as a help to getting people to think about their learning, to make changes and so on. So there are a couple of readings that relate to reflection. The first one is by Phil Race, and his two elements of his writing is one, that he writes in very everyday language, which is one reason why I've chosen it, because it's fairly straightforward to read. The other thing is that he has quite a number of practical ideas for using structured questioning to help people with their reflection. So the thing about reflection's got two sides to it. One is how you might use it with your students, but from obviously my perspective, how you might use it to help with your assignments. Now, all of the readings we will go through again in the program, but if you get from Phil Race's things about evidencing reflection and structuring questioning to help reflection. Maureen Bell's article provides a deeper look at reflection, and what's important in this one is the terminology that she introduces on page 33. So the rest of it is a bit of research which isn't critical, but the way she's developed the terminology about reflection is critical. I will be using this, and I'll own up to you now that this is one of my favourite articles, if that influences you in any way. The terms that we'll be looking at is technical reflection, pedagogic reflection, and leading to critical reflection. So very briefly, technical reflection is about thinking about doing the things that we're already doing better. So getting better at what we're already doing. Pedagogic reflection looks at perhaps a bit more of bringing some theoretical ideas into what we're doing and saying, how could we do this better? Pedagogic, fancy Greek word meaning learning and teaching, idea being, how could we do this better? Critical reflection, and I'll be spending some time talking about how we use the word critical, but it means thinking about the context within which we work, how the context affects, perhaps enables or prevents us from doing things that we'd like to. So critical is about taking a wider view on reflection or thinking about what we do, thinking about the wider factors that influence us. That's what I'd like you to get from this article, page 33's critical part of it. The article by Fox is an older article, and I've included this because he's introduced the question, what is teaching? Which is actually not such an easy question to answer, and again something that we'll be talking about, what's teaching. And he answers that by giving a metaphorical type of answer. So he gives 4 different ways of looking at teaching. So what I'm interested in for this is not so much how he has answered it, but the fact there are, in his case, he's presented 4 ways of looking at teaching, which starts us to think about how do people look at teaching, and I guess critically importantly, how do you look at teaching? What do you think it is? And then what effect does the way people view or approach their teaching have on student learning? So this article is a stepping stone to part of the module itself, where we'll be looking at some of the more recent research about the effects of different types of teaching on students' learning. So this, if you like, is a stepping stone introductory article. The terms he uses are not essential, but the fact that people see teaching quite differently. And you might want to just think about, well, so how do you see teaching? How does your department see teaching? The article by Bob Matthew is a magazine type article, so it's pretty easy to read, and he's talking about should we be thinking about excellence in teaching, or should we be thinking about excellent student learning? And obviously he's arguing that we should be focusing our attentions on excellent student learning. So you might want to look at that and have a think about what is good teaching if the goal is student learning. So to let you know where these articles are, they'll be placed in Vital. You'll have access to Vital. We'll also have a blog space for you within Vital. So if you have questions or comments, could you please post those into Vital so that we begin to use Vital as our medium of communication. And almost certainly, if you have a question or a comment, somebody else has got a similar thought or question, and it's much better for everybody if we can start to create a dialogue in public rather than a whole series of emails to me or to somebody else, or even worse, that you don't ask the question. So please use Vital to ask any questions. I really would appreciate that.